then I'll screen share and it'll be all.
Welcome to Gateway Rotary. I'd like to call Greg Millard for the pledge and the floor with thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way pledge is up here on the wall for those who need it. A memory that felt them. Okay. Of the things we think, say, or do, number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better relationships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Amen.
I'd invite Jim for inspiration.
Well, I want to give you inspiration. I want to introduce you to a Oregon author named Brian Doyle. And this is a book called Martin Martin. It's third in the series, and they're pretty wonderful, different, unusual books. Anyway, this kind of tickled me. And the character, one of the characters is Miss Moss. So here's what they say. And to those who say animals have no chronicles in annals, no literature in sagas, no common memories in master storytellers, I say, are you sure? How would you know? Just because you've never seen them, they do not exist. Are you sure about that? Don't be. Whatever you are most inarguably sure about, as Miss Moss says, don't be. Thank you.
I'd like to extend a special thank you to Mary Millard for being our reader today. And nice job buying up all the cards. Don't have to, we got those gone. Do we have any guests or visiting Rotarians today? Thank you. I see some of my favorite.
Yeah, okay.
Please. Is it working?
So,
No.
Hi friends, I'm so honored that Ms. Darla Ray is here with us today. Again, it was probably amazing work that you did on our Juneteenth celebration. Thank you. And her daughter Whitley Smith is here with us today. Whitley has just moved here from Dallas, Texas. And if you think about Opal's Walk for Freedom and how beautiful it was here, there were 9 other communities across our nation that did the walk. And Whitley was key to managing and coordinating each one of those events. So,
Any more guests or visiting Rotarians? Thank you, Jean Marie. All right, now it's the time for announcements. Come on up if you have any announcements.
Hello, everyone. For the August social, our lovely president here has invited all of us to go to our home on the last Thursday. I don't want to say the date, but that might be
27.
27, okay. August? Yes, and it's going to be a potluck. That will depend on the weather, really. If it's going to be 100 degrees or more, we will reschedule. So next week I'll start collecting names. Whether you can help us. Another thing is maybe we can all join Kelly Moody for a dance for rain.
I just want to thank everybody for the jelly donations and Jamie for your valiant effort. We ended up at 626. Rogers Group 678. Anyway, It was fun, and thank you, everybody. And Mint and St. Vincent's are the recipients of the jelly. And we're gonna continue with our community food projects. And this month, we are hosting Project Youth Plus. And they've given us a list of things, and it's mostly, kids snacks. So if you feel like bringing in any kids snacks, we'll pass it off to Project Youth Plus. Thank you.
Got a question.
Question. Oh, yes.
Wondering, where we would find the list of things that they want.
I will bring one here. I just posted it on Facebook, but what I can do is share it with the club, I guess, send it some, and yeah, Steve Rowe. Steve Rowe, there you are. Yes, I'm gonna send it to Steve.
For those of you on Zoom, she was asking where we would find the list for items to be. Steve's gonna post it in the Navigator, I believe. All right, I think, is there any more announcements before we move on for our program today? I'm really excited to invite one of our new members, or returning members, up for her vocational. And I have to give an extra good shout out to her because I asked her to do this 2 days ago. Once again, we kind of had some last minute changes, and Susan was just like, yes, and she jumped in and is willing to be here and share her story with us. And I love our member vocationals to get to know folks. I was on the Juneteenth walk with Susan and got to walk with her quite a bit and learn a whole lot about her and get to know her a little better. Then it's really nice. So I'm excited to learn some of her backstory and welcome our guests. So thank you, Susan, for being willing to do this, and welcome to the mic.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yep, okay.
We'll see. Is this close enough to the mic? Awesome. Thanks, friends. Thanks for asking me, Jenny. I am really grateful to have the opportunity to jump in today and to share about my life. And I was just reflecting before walking in that my life looks so different today than the first time I gave my vocational, and I'm so grateful to have the chance to share about it with you. My goal is, instead of just sharing my resume with you and telling you about what I've done, is I want to tell you about how the pieces of my life, my family, my work, my volunteering, all fit together. I'll start with a question, though, that my mom has asked herself so many times. What do teaching in public schools, owning a child care center, working in healthcare policy, coaching volleyball, sitting on a school board, and consulting with organizations all over Oregon have in common? If you're my mom, sometimes she thinks that it means I've changed careers one too many times. But in reality, I haven't. I've had one job the whole time, and every one of these roles has really taught me how to do this one job with greater care and hopefully with greater skill. I feel a bit intimidated because there's many people in this audience who have watched me throughout my career, and so they'll keep me honest about the details. To start, I just want to share that my deepest held belief is that people thrive when we know that we matter. When somebody notices what we're good at, and when people have a real say in what happens next in their life. And for me, that's a common thread. Every seat that I've sat in has been another way of weaving this belief into my daily life. My family, my work, and my volunteering are really the same story told 3 different ways. And that's what I want to share with you today. This is my family. I adore them. I was born in Santa Monica, and we moved to Southern Oregon when I was really young to be closer to family. I was shaped by Sundays in the Applegate, and I was a part of different faith communities that centered community service. I was educated in both private and public schools, and I spent many years in the dance studio and then on the volleyball court. Watching my mom's work as a nurse really taught me the value of hard work and the importance of giving your life to caring for others. In college, I studied how strong humans and strong communities are built and began thinking about how I might want to contribute. After graduating from the University of Oregon with a Bachelor's of Science in Sociology and a minor in Special Education, I ran away to San Diego and I lived on the beach and spent a year as an AmeriCorps Vista before starting my Master's in Education program at University of California, San Diego. After I finished my degree and my credential, though, I did 3 things that I swore I would never do. I moved home, I had a baby girl, and I bought a minivan. 13 years ago, I met my husband, Jason. Many of you have had the joy of meeting him, and Grants Pass became my home. I'm so grateful for this community and the ways that it's been a perfect place to raise our 2 children and care for our parents as they age. Yeah. So this is my family. My husband, Jason, my papa, David Mackey, we call him Papa Dave. You can tell that this is a Sunday because his beard is not in a braid. So we mark time by whether or not Papa has a braid. To my son and my daughter, this was June of 2025, and this was celebrating her graduation from Grants Pass High School. Katie turns 20 at the end of the month, and it's really just so amazing how fast time goes. She's right now spreading her wings in the world of work. She is a volleyball coach in her own right now, which is an honor to watch that. I had the joy of being her coach for many years until she surpassed my skills. And then I just got to be her biggest fan. Our son, David, is about to start 7th grade at South Middle School, and he loves sports. And when I say sports, I mean all of the sports. And we're not only proud of his athleticism, but he is a child that knows, he just innately knows when others need him to lead and when others need him to follow. And it doesn't matter the role that he's being asked to play, he does it with joy and enthusiasm. My mom is there. My mom is she's my foundation. She will do anything to make sure that people are well taken care of. There's never an errand too big or too small that she's not willing to do, and she does it with a smile. And back to my papa loves to take care of our garden. We live on 6 acres, all of us together. And Papa's never met a stranger in his whole life. He loves people unconditionally, and he's such a great example of what that can look like every day. Katie, after graduation, spent 2 terms in Southern California playing volleyball. David does just about anything he can to make us laugh. And many of you know that I love flowers, and I'm really grateful to have lots of room to grow beautiful flowers on my property. So as I mentioned, I was born in Santa Monica. These are my grandparents who lived in Rouge. I have really vivid memories of going and swimming at the river at McKee Bridge. And nothing brings me more peace than going to Applegate Lake and looking at the mountains in the distance. I grew up on the river. Those are there with my mom and my grandma, my Aunt Brenda, and my cousins. And I'm pretty sure that that's Indian Mary where we were taking out at. And the river feels like church to our family. And that's me dancing. I was a carrot, and I can't imagine what sort of a dance I was doing as a carrot, but I did it. Okay, next slide. So again, family is everything to us. These are my fur babies also. I don't want to not give them a shout out. Katie's there with Cooper, who's now 12. He's our senior dog. He's a great protector and a great love. And that's Dakota, and she is a house hippo and a couch potato and just living the life of Riley. So I'm not sure where the time has gone, but my career started 25 years ago when I moved home. And I served 1 year in the Medford School District as a teacher. And I'm going to be honest that I had a wonderful education and was very prepared to teach children academic skills, but I didn't have a frame of reference for all of the challenges that children and families and my coworkers brought with them across the school threshold each day. It was a year that the Medford School District went on strike, and it was a really hard year. And I'm grateful that I got to work within those roles, but I quickly exited and I started my own early care and education center called Jitterbugs. And at a time where Michelle Gallus was an expert and she knew all the rules and how to do things well, I was flying by the seat of my pants and had no idea. But over the 3 years that I owned Jitterbugs, I had the opportunity to learn what it looks like for people to raise children and how isolating that experience can be, but also the joy of gathering together in person. It feels just like this, like we do every Thursday together. Being in person with each other, sharing our joy, sharing our challenges is so important and it's irreplaceable. And I love that 22 years later, I can watch on Facebook people who made friends at that center and they're still connected to them. Later in my career, I had the opportunity to teach at both Umpqua and Rogue community colleges in their early childhood education programs. That's where I met Greg first. And then I served as an upward bound coordinator supporting youth, first generation at-risk youth at Douglas High School, a very rural high school, helping them articulate their dreams. And for the first time, really understanding the tension between young people growing up and seeking what they want for their life, and maybe the stories and the history of their families, and how sometimes that was a tension. In those settings, I often felt like I was being taught as much or more than I was able to share or support. And I learned a few things that I wanted to just share with you because they're foundational to who I am. One, I believe that people's behavior is always communication and that behavior always serves a function, even if it's not helpful. But when we give people new options for behaviors that are leading to their well-being, they often accept that invitation. I learned that people are really the expert on their own lives and they are wildly capable. And sometimes during this journey, I was so grateful because that's what was reflected back to me also as I grew. I started to see that even if the programs we were offering individuals and children were technically correct programs would fail in seeking their mission if they aren't accessible, if they aren't relational, and if they aren't responsive to what the people in front of you need. And I learned that servant leadership is about recognizing the wisdom of the group and believing in the capacity of others. So I'll be honest that direct service was really hard for me. I didn't know how to rest and digest in between the home visits, in between the classes I taught. It takes very special humans to do that work. So thank you to anyone who does that work in your daily life. And I also began to see that many challenges facing children and families could not be solved inside a single classroom or through a single organization. And through a random chance of fate, I had the opportunity to move into systems level. So in 2012, actually, can we go back? Yeah. In 2012, Governor Kitzhaber enacted legislation and we moved to the coordinated care model of how we allocate Medicaid dollars and invest in communities. But he also enacted another piece that radically shifted the way that we invested money in early childhood and youth supports. And during this time, I found myself in the role of coordinating the regionalization of partners working in that space. And what it asked people in Jackson and Josephine counties to do who had been investing in that work for decades was to come together and compromise and come to consensus so they could fit into this new legislatively mandated state model of an early learning hub. Some of you in this room were part of that, and we had giant spreadsheets that went on for days. And I remember one time we were in a small room and a whiteboard that was filled with acronyms, and it wasn't lost on me that we spend so long in school learning all these words, and then we just use acronyms to communicate sometimes. But after 3 years, the partners were awarded the early learning hub status. And it was then that I was approached by Cynthia Ackerman at All Care Health and given the opportunity to join their team. And so their pitch was this: come over, be a translator, be a bridge to all the people that you already know and love in early childhood and youth services, and help us invest our community benefit initiative dollars. And it sounded too good to be true. And what I can tell you is that for the 8 years I was honored to be a part of the All Care team, they kept that promise every single day. And so they charged me with knowing the people and the programs in their service area and highlighting opportunities to invest upstream where we know there's the biggest return on investment. And in any case possible, saying yes to innovations that were born from community wisdom. And again, in that work, I was just struck by how clear some really parallel truths from my own growth and personal life I saw within my work. So one, that organizations and the people they serve are the experts on what leads to positive change and meaningful outcomes. That well-intentioned policies and programs fail if they don't foster positive relationships and empower locally responsive services. And then ultimately that investments make the biggest difference when we put community voice at the center. Okay. 4 years ago, I had a remarkable experience. I was home. I actually had COVID and I was in my bed and I was watching the rest of my team, 8 other humans, all gathered in a room on Zoom. And I had a quiet moment of knowing that I needed to be at a different seat around a similar table. And so I gave my notice at All Care and I started Common Thread Consulting. So I have this unusual professional gift where I enjoy being in the meetings that everyone else might not want to be in. Right? So they're messy, they're complex, but they're also really essential. And so I think our taglines at Common Thread really say it all. We're here and we seek every day to cultivate belonging, to let people know that they matter, to mobilize contribution, and to amplify impact. And as I was typing those words out, it just reminded me why I think our Thursday Rotary Club is the best program. So thank you for the example that you set. Common Thread helps communities and organizations. We work with small nonprofits. We've worked with 6 different state agencies. And so I know them intimately and love them and also recognize the challenges that they bring. And we work with planning, we work with implementation, but we're always trying to bring the voices of families and frontline workers to the foreground of what we end up producing. Everything that we do starts with something called appreciative inquiry. And what that does is we start by asking, what do things look and sound and feel like when things are going really well, when they're at their best? We don't start with the deficits because the hard stuff will always come up. And so as we've grown, we've adopted other practices like asset-based community development and drive things like balanced scorecards because that's important. And so this is our website. I want to show you just one more piece, and it's a report that I had the honor to work with the Josephine County Prevention and Treatment Services, and they have a beautiful program of school outreach officers that are kind of a blend between our police force and our community service officers and then our graduation coaches that are in high schools. So these individuals get to know the students who aren't showing up. And they will do whatever it takes to help those students succeed, re-engage with school, whichever school model fits them the best. And so our job was to listen to all of the partners, not only the school outreach officers, the administrators at the county, the administrators and auxiliary staff at schools, and then to put on paper and tell their story so that they could build sustainable funding and grow their program. So that's just an example of the sort of work that I do each day. Before I close, I just want to share a little bit about my volunteer and civic life because no retelling of what I've chosen to do with my one wild and precious life would be complete without it. And I think that these are the spaces that have shaped me most. I've had the good fortune of sitting on a lot of boards, although I only included volleyball pictures. I was appointed and I served 1 year on the Three Rivers School District Board of Directors, and what an honor that was. I served on the Coalition for Kids boards. Anybody else in this room serve on the Coalition for Kids boards over the year? Thank you. I was there in its final iteration and had the responsibility and the honor of figuring out how to really, I'll use the word honor again, everything, the vision, the mission, and the ways that Coalition had conducted themselves for a long time in our community and use the assets from the sale of the building to start an early childhood fund at the Redwood Foundation for Education. Shout out to Siskiyou Community Health Center's outreach programs. They have a high fidelity model called Healthy Families and another homegrown model called Project Baby Check, where they are in the homes with expectant and then postnatal families, really helping them to set their own goals and supporting them through those goals. It's a very strength-based program, and I would encourage any of you, if you haven't ever had a chance to see or hear what a home visit is like, get curious. You can ask Jennifer, she's the leader there now. And home visits change the world, they really do. I served on several state boards also, 211 Info. It's a resource and referral data system. You can call, you can text, you can go online. One of the reasons I joined 211 is because I was grossly dissatisfied with what their services look like here in rural Oregon. And so I joined to help challenge them to do differently. And then finally, ORIMHA, which stands for the Oregon Infant Mental Health Association. And so a common theme that you will see in my work is that I really believe in families. Because when we get in and we support families early, we don't have to spend as much downstream in corrective or later intervention. And then these are athletes who have just taught me over the years. That's actually my high school team in the upper left-hand corner. 3 of us had the opportunity to go play Division I volleyball after we graduated. My coach is in the second picture. He's on the right. His son, Timmy, was actually in the woman in the center, Molly's belly, as they were coaching me in high school. And they've stayed part of my life and supported us as Caitlin has gone through her volleyball journey. I got to be a part of the Grants Pass High School program. I started Grants Pass Elite Volleyball Club, and we also taught athletes, both male and female, how to enjoy sand volleyball, which is a totally different sport than indoor volleyball. And then the last one is my daughter with her team this year, which was such a joy to see things come full circle. When I was younger, I thought I was going to live in a loft apartment on the park blocks in the Pearl District of Portland. And this is my home. The universe is so much smarter than I am. These are my flowers. That's a cabbage. We grew a cabbage. These are wild sweet peas. This was one of our sets of hogs. And I just, I love the gardening. My favorite part though is planting seeds and being patient and nurturing them and watching them. When I look back, my path makes a lot more sense to me now. than it did while I was living it. The roles I was lucky to fill are connected by the same foundational beliefs. Again, that people need to know that they matter, that communities already hold tremendous wisdom, and that progress really becomes possible when we help people see both their own agency and to remember the responsibility we have towards each other. I'm still learning how to do all that well and to live that in my daily life. And my hope is that I can keep doing all that I can to use the experiences and the relationships and skills that I have to help good people work together and ultimately hope to leave individuals and systems and communities that I get to be involved with a little more connected, more capable, and a lot more hopeful, because I think we all need that right now. So thank you for letting me share my story. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'm just really grateful to be part of this community.
Put you on the spot too much, nor to get too political, but assuming you win in November, so what goals or aspirations you have for your time in Salem?
Yeah, thank you for that. One, I think my number one goal is to encourage people to understand how much influence we could be having on decisions made in Salem. That doesn't just happen during a session, it happens all throughout the year during rulemaking and other things. So one, I want to help people re-engage with civic life. Next, I have a slate of developing policies based on conversations I've been having. Some are around recognition of our personal care traditional health workers and ensuring that we continue to recognize how vital they are to community health. I also think that we need to be realistic about government, and government gets in the way of local innovation in many ways. I'm greatly concerned about the cat tax on our small businesses here, which is interesting to hear someone of my political inclinations say that. I think if we provide relief to our small businesses, I'm pro-commerce, I'm also anti-poverty. And so those two things, it's really complex. And so I think what we need is representation that knows and loves everyone in our community. That takes setting your ego aside, and it will take really showing up in a lot of different rooms.
Excellent.
That says a question.
Like the what you were talking about, the community outreach for the kids that aren't in school. Can you explain what the community or the outreach officers do, or the connectors to get the kids back into the classroom?
Yeah. So one of the things I love about our schools is they really work to ensure that there's at least one adult who knows every student well. And they also network with other students to be sure that if a student isn't showing up to school, I'm feeling very intimidated because Superintendent Sweeney is watching me right now. Right, like this is a small-ish community. And so we're able, the school outreach officers are able to go to those places where the students usually hang out. They'll knock on the family's door. If something's happened and they're having involvement with juvenile services, they'll go there. And they also have the ability to talk with other organizations like Project Youth Plus or the TRIO program, Joe's Place. And so really that re-engagement starts with the student, but it also folds around their family, be that their bio family or their chosen family. And so they do a lot of working with what are the barriers that are keeping you from going to school. For some students, it's because they are working because their family needs more income. For some, they just don't see a clear path forward, or the traditional model of schooling is not working for them. And so I'm just so grateful that we're in a time where there are options and where we're really having conversations about schooling is more than just working in the desk. It's only possible when students are healthy and
told her y'all would talk. Lovely job on the fly. Thank you, Susan. And what a wonderful turnout. Thank you all for showing up today to honor our members. And I would like to invite our Sergeant at Arms, Luke Kramer, to come on up and entertain us as he always does.
Exactly.
Okay, the last time that I interviewed you, we talked about the kinds of things, the little things that can happen that really change your attitude. A glimmer, and we came up with a wide variety. What I'd like to do today is move to the other end of the spectrum. I want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about awe. The definition that comes from Dacker Keltner from UC Berkeley, who has studied this extensively and has written an excellent book on it, is awe is a powerful emotional experience you feel when something is so vast, so beautiful, or mind expanding that it shapes how you see the world from that point on. They come in a variety of formats. He lists 8 of them. Moral beauty being one of them. I think of Juneteenth, our celebration. What an incredible experience that was. It was awesome. And there was a sense of something being different afterwards in terms of those of us who experienced it. I love this term collective effervescence, which basically is the second one, and it involves being in a situation like a stadium, sports stadium, where something spectacular happens, and all of you are on the same page at the same time. The third one, an obvious one, is nature. All of us have, in some ways, used nature as an awe-forming experience. Music. Kelly, you could probably come up with 100 examples of something that was a perfect concert, or watching someone do something that you'd never think they could do musically, and it's awe-inspiring. Visual art, obviously seeing something for the first time that you've looked at in books and seeing it in person. I was blown away by Raphael's School of Athens, which is one of my favorite paintings in a book, but watching it or looking at it rather in the Vatican Museum was an incredible experience. Mystical encounters, not only religious, but something spiritual that goes beyond that. Life and death experiences. Epiphanies, suddenly understanding a major idea that you have read about, but something happened when you read about it this time or you encountered it that was awe-inspiring. What's interesting about awe in relation to the rumors that we talked about last time is that there is both a small self and a big self. Paradoxically, they both happen at the same time. Let me give an example, a couple of examples from my experience. One from nature. One of the most incredible experiences that I've ever had, awe-inspiring, was floating down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon and just lying there on my back next to Lisa lying on her back, and that place actually meant. You know, it was looking up at the canyon walls. It was just an amazing kind of an experience. So that's the small self kind of thing. I felt tiny compared to those canyon walls and tiny compared to the big self experience comes from something relating to life and death. In this case, life. The birth of both of my kids, and the birth because I delivered both of them. You know, to suddenly have that piece of life in your hands, you recognize how you're involved in that entire circle of life. So anyway, I'm sure that many of you have had awesome experiences. Actually, in terms of looking at some material through the book and so on, I found that awesome and awful come from the same root and used to mean the same thing. The thing that connects them is awful, often incorporates the kind of a fear that comes with an awesome experience also. So when you say somebody is awfully nice, you know, you're not saying something wrong. So for Happy Bucks today, awesome experiences. And if it's a really good, awesome experience, I expect some big bucks coming in.
That's awesome. You're awesome. I would share, I'm so glad to be here. I missed you guys. I've been traveling between here and the Midwest for the last month, it seems. And awesome showed up many times, and sometimes one thing represented a lot of things on this list. And it occurred to me after all the traveling we did in Michigan and seeing the Great Lakes and so many wonderful things there, and beautiful things to look at in nature. And on our way back, we were driving the kids to drop them off in Bend, and we stopped at Crater Lake because kids hadn't been there for a while. And it was a day when the lake was visually, it looked like it wasn't real. I posted on Facebook, and someone posted and said, "Can you live anywhere around this?" It's like, no. But Crater Lake in the last month has given me one of those moments where it is natural. It's hard to believe how blue it can be. And I guess maybe some of the altitude takes to it. So anyway, so I have 20 happy bucks for you.
All right.
Okay, so taking your challenge loose and bringing it to music. So I'm in 5th grade. And I'm with some of my girlfriends, and we're at one of my girlfriend's houses, and she has a sister, Kitty, who is 3 years older. Well, when you're in 5th grade, 3 years older means like almost a generation away from them. They don't want to have anything to do with you. And she had one of these split level houses. We loved her house. And we're walking downstairs, and Kiki had a bunch of friends over. And on her phonograph, was playing a song. And everybody just kept going in, and I stopped. And I had an aha moment. I was just stopped in my tracks. And what was playing was Dave Brubeck's Take 5. And as a 5th grader, it struck me like lightning. And I knew at that moment that I was going to love jazz. And I didn't even know what jazz was, but that song brought me into it. So I have happy bucks, and thanks for bringing this up.
There's got to be at least 20 more awesome experiences out there. Victoria.
So, my family and I live on Beacon Hill. And so Saturday at 4:30, our phones went off, and we looked out our front window, and our hill that is our backyard was on fire. Yet my kids helped pack up their stuff, my 10 and 11-year-old, and they still went and performed at their Barnstormers play. And the song that they sang was the Reading Rainbow theme song, which as an 80s kid made me happy too. We spent the night at the DHS office overnight, and then the sunrise the next morning on Sunday was absolutely breathtaking. And then once again, I got to see both my kids, but especially my 11-year-old, who has severe anxiety. She performed in a play despite everything that was going on and all of her anxiety. And she sang that song so beautifully, and so now it just gives me another reason to be happy when I hear that song about Reading Rainbow. So yeah.
Last month for the social, we were in Apple Creek next to Don Welch's house, and we had this walk with this guy, this wonderful lady who really made the walk so interesting. And it was really, for me, a very special experience.
Things like nature is a theme. For me, it was many years ago, and many of you know too, I love to run. And we were on the lower road at Half Moon Bar. And it was probably the first time I ever actually ran on a trail. And I felt so strong. And all of a sudden, it was this idea of, I am just the end at this point of years and years of people who did this same thing. And it connected me really to the past.
Well, thank you for bringing this topic up, and as you were thinking of it, I thought of different aha moments, but I'm gonna go with one of my latest. So in June, I went to a annual meeting at the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts. And I've only been to one other before that, but it was a wonderful experience. But they had a hymn sing, and to be in a chorus of thousands of people singing praises to God was a really aha moment for me. And one hymn, the lines I especially love are the joy that no one can take away. I walk with love today.
I'm going to, my memory's not very good at all the awesome things that happened, but when you talked about Juneteenth, I thought, when I came home from that event, I just couldn't talk about it enough. It was just so beautiful. The singing, and I just loved it. It was awesome. Yeah.
I've been fortunate. I've had a lot of sort of aha moments and awesome moments, you know, with things to visualize or the rivers or in the water and whatnot. But I think the thing that I started thinking about when you started describing that is sort of the awesome moments with teams and with projects I've been involved with, the library, various things like that. You started. And how awesome that is to be with a very high functioning group of people, chipping away at something and getting something done, and everybody showing up with good attitudes and working on things, and that's very awesome as well.
And you know, Kent literally just about how these things don't have to be, you know, major life-changing kinds of things, but just recognizing during your week, it might be something like, look at that cloud, you know, isn't that cloud amazing? Or something of that sort. So they don't have to be life-changing experiences for you to recognize.
Well, 2 times in my life, I was able to go with a group of people to the World Trade Center on the island of Manhattan in New York City and have a meal at the very top of the World Trade Center. And I don't know, I hope does anybody else ever get to do that? And the way they had tiered seating so that you could sit at the foot of Manhattan and look up and see the entire island all the way up into Central Park and all the Empire State Building and all, and the East River and the Hudson River. And it was absolutely, you felt like you were literally a king, sitting up there having a wonderful meal. And then to think that you're talking about life and death, and to think that that's all gone now is just too much to fathom, really. Anyway.
I haven't told this story yet, so it was kind of brought it out of me. I can't talk about Juneteenth, which was really inspiring to me. Then I'll talk about another trip I did at the Klamath River. Last year, about next week, I did my float where the dam sites have been removed, the 3 dams, Taco 1, 2, and Iron Gate. But I haven't done the upper part. And recently, in March, I got to do the upper part. And I stood at the base of Keno Dam, which is the second irrigation dam. There's still Link River, still Keno, but all the major fish killing and obstructing dams have been removed. And I got to stand at the base of Keno Dam with that at my back and look downstream and know that if I was a fish or a better kayaker, I could go all the way 260 miles to the ocean without any blockage. And I knew at the time that was an awesome moment.
Everybody says their awesomeness, and it makes me think of something that has been really awesome to me. All of your things are wonderful, and I just think life is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have to share that whenever Lutz is sergeant at arms, he never ever lets me in on what he's gonna do. I'll ask him, "Do you run it by me?" I'll try to probe. So, is it about this? No. So you are all to me, really. And I also have to say that just this club, Susan, what you do is awe to me. And what everybody does in here, everyone's big hearts. I come here on Thursday, kind of forget about it, I'll come in and I leave here going in awe. So I love you all.
I just want to share that Lutz, you were awesome. I suggested some time ago that we make him be sergeant at least once a month. And Doug, I love men who cry.
Yes.
And so all of you, everybody in this room, yeah. I mean, I know it sounds a little weird, but that did sound weird. But the vulnerable part that this club is just so great like that you can be so comfortable. And when I was 20 years old, I got to spend my junior year in Florence, Italy, which was a life-changing experience. And I remember at that time it cost the same to go to college overseas as it did, the college that I was attending, and getting to see the David, and that was, I remember being, kind of flippant and wandering around and then looking up. It was just incredible, which has inspired a lifelong love of art for me. And I gave an update last week, but I want to give you another update that the city of Grants Pass has selected 39 different utility boxes that could be decorated. We've just finished number 25. And through our Archie Foundation, we have the funds for at least another 8, which should go up the next few months. And then we're almost to the end. So all of you in some way had some part in that. So thank you very much. Yeah, that's it.
Here's another nature adventure story. It's kind of in honor of Scott Spindell's. Scott Spindell's is the husband of Bob Sampson, longtime member. Anyway, Scott used to love to hike Mount Shasta on the full moon in May because it was cold, there was ice, so you used crampons, and it was absolutely, you could see because there's a full moon. And anyway, in a nutshell, we tried to get to about 10,000 feet during the day, camp, and then here's the good part. You get up about 3:30 in the morning, and it is colder than you would believe, and you're on probably a 40% slope, and you probably got about 6 hours before you're going to summit if you make it. And you don't always make it, by the way. But nevertheless, you're standing up there freezing, you got crampons on, you got a helmet with a lamp, and if you turned around, look, you see this incredible valley with the moon shining and a bunch of other hikers who are just beginning. So there's like a little trail of these white lights coming up the mountain. And I swear, if you don't believe in God or a higher being, go up there and you will come away with a spiritual experience. I swear. It's one, and I thank Scott Swindells because I would never have done it on my own. Great. So I grew up in Glendale and really didn't bet myself until I went to college. College is where my thirst for adventure was set free. I had a friend who invited me on a hike to Castle Crags, and Castle Crags has forever been a favorite since then. I've probably done Castle Crags 50 times at least, and it's still one of those places every time there, especially if you start up in the dark, hit the timberline right at first light, and all the granite spires are lit up in that first light of the morning. It's amazing. So that's one of my awe moments that never ceases to be another awe moment every time I do it.
Well, I have to agree with most of this group. I know that when I've tried to think of one of the first moments of awe or very profound impact was when I went to Juneteenth this year. I didn't get there until about the last 45 minutes. When I walked in there, just the energy hit me. It was such an amazing energy. So many wonderful people wanting to make beautiful changes in the world. And this is, you know, I read the paper and I'm on Facebook, so I see all these horrible things. And it was very awesome to understand just how wonderful our community is. And I'll also have to add, with Susan bringing her program today, what really awes me is I think I've seen the ultimate person in this club after they've done vocational. And I've had so many of subsequent presentations where I go, no, this is the best. We have an amazing group here, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
So not to sober the group, but this is actually, I hope it was inspirational. I spent a lot of this last weekend with someone at Rogue Regents who is a dear friend and with his family, and we were having that conversation about how there's no left to be done, and you know, what are the options? Maybe it's time to talk to palliative care nurse and such. And I asked him, I said, Mark, with the time that you do have left, what can we do to have you have the experiences that you want to have in your life? And he thought about that for a second. He said, I just want to go home. And it just struck me like, what an awesome thing to be able to say at the end of your life, that what you want with your days is to be home, to pet your dog, to be with your loved ones, to be in a place where you've held so many memories. And it just really struck me. Like, that is really awesome. And I hope that we all feel that way at the end of our lives, you know, that we feel like, yeah, but just being here, breathing, being with the people I love, petting my dog is all that life's about. And that's what I want. So.
I wasn't going to say this, but the story just brought a couple weeks ago. I took Hope into a Rogue Regional, and the person in the elevator says, "Do you visit people here?" I says, "Absolutely." Let's check with nurses. Nurse says, "Absolutely." And I learned the man was on comfort care, and he had about 24 to 40 hours to live, and he was sleeping in the bed. And I took Hope in there and laid her on his chest, and his one joy in life was wanting to be able to pet his dog one last time. And it was so special to be able to bring Hope in there with him.
Ready to pull a card?
We should have Susan do it. Yes, Lucy's gonna draw a card, and I love that I get the happy buck microphone at the end of the meeting at the time. Because there are so many awesome things about this club, and before Judy said she loves American Prize, I was gonna say to both of the walkers that you've made it okay for me to cry in front of people. And I love that about you, and I love that about this club. And it taught me that it's not weakness, it's just realness. And that is awesome. So thank you for that. 9 of Diamonds is our winner.
Don't get your happy dog.
Thank you, Lutz. You are an amazing person, to honest. I agree with you. So I have just a few thoughts for the day for you. I know we've run a little bit over, but I was looking up, I said, find your people a couple weeks ago, and a few people thanked me for that. I looked up Find Your People, and there's another Jenny that agrees with me. She's written a book titled Find Your People. I forget her last name because I didn't write it down, but I thought you would appreciate that. This one's for you, Lutz. It's a philosophy quote a little bit by C.S. Lewis. Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art, like the universe itself. It has no survival value. Rather, it is one of those things which give us value to survive. And then one of my other favorites is A.A. Milne. When I was in New York in the library, I saw the original Winnie the Pooh stuffings. And I was just like mind blown. And a quote by A.A. Milne is, "A friend is one of the nicest things you can have and one of the best things you can be." So thank you all for being my friends.